Once again, it's time for the Israel Update with Hanok Young. And Hanok, I am so busy this week with getting ready for a conference in Bassett, Virginia with Barry Phillips that you're going to have to
Wow.
give me the update of what's going on in Israel, too.
Sure.
Because I
Let's
don't know much, except for I saw
let's
there's a shooting up in the Shomron, someone
yeah.
killed.
Yeah. And what's interesting is there's a lot of background news that I'm going to try to share, at least bits of stuff that people may not pick up. And again, I just reiterate to our lovely and loving listeners, please don't depend upon CNN,
Oh,
BBC, or your
yeah,
local news networks.
yeah.
Don't tell me Fox isn't covering Israel. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to tell people use Israeli sources. It's in English, you know. Anyway, okay,
Well,
so let's jump in.
I did see something
I'm
that
sorry.
for those that ask, is it safe to go to Israel? There were, I think there were 11 murdered in Chicago last weekend on Memorial Day.
Actually, that's a slow weekend for Chicago.
Yeah.
I've actually, oh heck, yeah. Let's just throw the restraints away. I'm really sick and tired of people telling me that they're concerned about going to Israel,
Yeah.
that they're worried about their safety when when you can go into schools across America
Oh,
and lose
yeah.
your life. I mean, I'm just
But
so, I mean, and then
yeah.
I actually still have people asking me, how am I dealing with the missiles? And then when you explain that that was a couple of days and that ended weeks ago, it's like,
Yeah.
say what?
Well, let's face it, the average person out there does not keep up with what's going on. And there's a reason that people do tune in here is because they want to know. So tell
So,
us what
okay,
we want
let's
to
go.
know or what we need to know.
Okay. So just yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? Within the last 2 days,
Okay.
I was picking up um, a family that I've been guiding at the David Citadel Hotel.
Oh,
That's one of the big hotels right near Mamila.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, they block off the doors, and police motorcycles come up, with flags. And I don't recognize the flag. Um, and the reason I didn't recognize the flag, it wasn't a national flag. This was the American general in charge of CENTCOM, the Central
Yeah.
Command, you know. So he came in. So it's really interesting. High level meetings continue between the American military and our government. Um, Lots of things have been coming out about Iran recently, and that doesn't necessarily mean that Israel and Iran are going into a major war anytime soon. These statements are more geared towards warning each other and
Okay.
or warning Hezbollah. People miss that. What they also missed, and senior government officials, our government, went to Azerbaijan. 10 out of 9 people that I know couldn't find Azerbaijan on a map. They've
I'd be
never
one
heard
of
of it.
those.
Okay, not a problem. And that's why your lovable favorite tour guide is going to help you out. Azerbaijan is one of the republics that was created after the fall of the Soviet Union. They're Muslim. Israel has had great relationships with them. We have gotten oil from them. But most importantly, they border a country called Iran.
Hmm.
If I had a longer beard, I could stroke it a little more. Say, this is interesting. Um, Continued stuff back and forth about polls, about who would win in next election. Um, I'm really surprised. As you know, I'm not a fan of Bibi Netanyahu. I am surprised at how poorly he is performing, and not just in the polls, but he had a reputation for being large and in charge.
Yeah.
He was the guy that set the tone. And
Yeah.
now he seems to be chasing after every little piece of his factions. Um, Nothing major internally in Israel is being dealt with. We have a cost of living, which is really galloping further and further ahead of most people's ability to deal with it. Nothing is happening. And that, last week with the budget passing, another 250 million shekels went to subsidize the Haredi, the ultra Orthodox part of the population. Now, I just had, I guess words is the thing when someone comes, anyone that's not just coming on Connect, but anyone that ever uses me as a tour guide, don't challenge me about what you don't know and that I know a lot of. What do I mean? When people say to me, well, none of the ultra Orthodox men work because they're all busy studying the Bible. So that's what a woman said to me the other day. Now, first of all, I can make the argument whether they're studying the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, whether they're studying the Talmud, the Mishnah, whatever it is, it's irrelevant. The point is 50%, 50% of ultra Orthodox men work full time.
Okay.
Most people don't realize that.
And let me ask you, in what
Sure.
in what sectors would most of those work in?
Okay, I couldn't define it in terms of a percentage of what sectors,
Yeah.
but you've got quite a number working, believe it or not, in high tech. You've got, all these stores. I mean, if you walk through a Haredi neighborhood, if you walk through Meir Sharim, if you walk through Geula, if you go to Bnei Brak, these store owners, these businesses are all run by Haredim. I mean, someone who's Dati Leumi, national religious, like myself, is not going to go open a business in an ultra-Orthodox neighborhood.
Yeah.
Even the guys that sell cell phones are Haredi in their neighborhoods. Of course, they use a different cell phone where they can't get the internet, but that's a whole nother story. That's their issue, not mine. Iran continues its march towards nuclear weapons, continues its march testing ballistic missiles, and the American government seems to act as if they twiddle their thumbs, this is all going to go away. Europe is quaking in their boots because the Iranians are coming out with missiles that can reach European cities. The day Iran, God forbid, gets nuclear weapons, everyone's under blackmail, which again brings us into another story that people aren't clued into. The negotiations between Israel and Saudi Arabia for the quote-unquote normalization of relations is going at a fever pitch. What's interesting is Saudi Arabia has demands. Most of them involve America. They want to purchase more American weapons. They want a certain recognition for the American government. Remember, a number of years ago, the American governments, including Trump, pulled away from the Saudis.
Right.
Now, do we think the Saudis will save us from Iran? No, but Israel is trying to line up as many players in a row that can at least move in the same direction on certain issues. Fascinatingly, the Saudis did not include anything relating to the Palestinian authorities or those Arabs who misidentify themselves as Palestinians, which I thought was fascinating because everybody for years was talking about that.
So do you see Saudi kind of turning their back on the Palestinians?
Eventually. My enemy's enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
They will deal with Israel because we're the strongest kids on the block.
And they're kind of coming to the conclusion that the Palestinian cause is holding them back economically and politically?
Politically, certainly. And the fact that, I mean, you had Mahmoud Abbas recently talking about how, Israel was worse than the Nazis. So, and again, he's in the 17th year of his
Yeah.
4-year term as president.
Yeah. Yeah.
The big issue is, of course, the day after he dies, who and what's going to be there. Now, as you and I were talking offline last week, I believe it was, the security in Shomron and Samaria is heavier than I've ever seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas where soldiers are stationed, their weapons are pointed towards the oncoming traffic in any direction, and the fingers are really, really close to the trigger. What's also interesting is these are not reservists. These are all young combat soldiers, including soldiers from the Caracal unit. Caracal is a co-ed combat unit that serves on the Jordan border.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, their names will come up when there's an attempted terrorist infiltration of some kind. But I saw a young Hayelet, a young woman soldier, and I mean, she had long hair. But she looked like she would have no problem emptying her clip into anyone or anything.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, I went through there when I was there just by myself after the tour last time. I was there during a couple of attacks, and to see it's kind of funny for someone who has not had being in the military. I never had a gun pointed at me. Was not in any combat areas or time. So it seems like I would have been a little bit unnerved by rifles pointed toward the traffic, but I really wasn't, because if there's any military force in the world that I trust, it is Israel. The
yeah,
training
it's
level of these people is amazing. I've watched their training, and it's incredible.
yeah, it's very interesting. The other thing that came up I wanted to mention is people are beginning to discuss the issue of what are we going to do to break the cycle of they threaten us, they
Hmm.
fire a bunch of missiles,
Yeah.
we assassinate their leaders,
Yeah.
we bomb, things. Because Hamas, the much larger part of the terrorists in Gaza, they have their headquarters underneath hospitals because they know we won't. I mean, again, we in Israel don't have the freedom of action and response that America and Russia has.
Oh yeah.
But they're already talking about in the next series of events, whenever that occurs, of inserting special forces units, boots on the ground. Now, for Israel, that's an enormous risk because not only are soldiers risk being killed, but God forbid captured
Yeah.
and then held at ransom.
Yeah.
But the idea is that we've got to start doing something different. Um, we surprised Islamic Jihad by striking at their leaders, but this needs to be an ongoing thing. So we'll see how that all plays out. We're living in very interesting times. There's no imminent threat of war. In the US, you've got the DEFCON system. And you get a sense no one's coming on the air saying we're facing imminent, no one is saying clean out the bomb shelters.
Yeah.
We do prepare. Now, what's interesting is right now we're in the midst of a number of different military exercises. So yesterday, when I was up in the Galil at the Kinneret, there were jets flying. Today, when I was down near Masada, Ein Gedi in the Dead Sea, jets flying.
Hmm.
Here over Modi'in, they're changing the flight paths, preparing for any eventuality. Because again, Modi'in is right near Ben Gurion Airport.
Yeah.
So all this stuff is going on, and these are training exercises. we're very prepared, and our military, the IDF, has been preparing for years, dealing with multi-front wars and how to coordinate and how to deal with all of this simultaneously. I contrast that with on 9/11/2001, many of us in New York City in particular that were standing there, in disbelief, were wondering, as we kept hearing about, a plane crashing into the Pentagon, a plane crashing into a field in Pennsylvania, the second plane crashing into the World Trade Center, is where the heck was the US Air Force? And it turns out that there were 8 planes. You heard that right. 8, the number between 7 and 9, 8 planes designated for security in the continental United States on that day. Now, I guess the threat of the Canadians invading was low. And since the US has an open border with
Yeah.
Mexico, but it just shows that no one was prepared. No one, in the Pentagon, for instance, they're always doing war games. A friend of mine who served as a lieutenant colonel said they spend their time making plans to invade friendly foreign nations. Like, what if the US has to go to war against Honduras? What if the US, and France reach a conflict over the Seychelles Islands or whatever, something stupid? So yeah, there were people always doing this and updating the plans. Why no one ever thought? I mean, someone mentioned this to me the other day, and it's true. It's absolutely brilliant. Hijack American commercial airliners with box cutters, and use them to crash into sites. Unbelievable.
Well, it is unbelievable. And, of course, probably a number of our listeners are thinking about some of the conspiracy theories that are out there. I have my own, having been in aviation, having, been a controller, and have flown off the record a lot of times. I never never got my license because I'd
I'm
have
not
probably
going to
killed
rat
my,
you out.
yeah.
I'm not going to rat you out.
Yeah, but yeah, I've got a lot of stick time that's not I actually have 1 legal hour logged in a Cessna 172 in, of all places, Christchurch, New Zealand. Okay, that's the
Well,
only
I'll tell
legal
you.
hour I have, but I've flown a lot, and it's there's some of this stuff when you're talking about it, it just kind of brings back some of these things that is a difference between conspiracy theory and conspiracy fact. Well, it's a lot of times that's blurred quite a bit. I'm thinking about. Well, I did want to ask you something before I forget about it. There was a report the other day that Iran is trying to build a nuclear site that is so far underground that none of our missiles would be able to touch it?
I read the same report, and interestingly enough, on one of the models that Israel has, the sort of the Hyper F-16 that Israel
Mhm.
has modified over the years, they're now preparing it to carry the American bunker buster bombs. We've never had a flying platform that could do that.
Hmm.
Now, America still refuses to sell them to us, which is what some of the sort of analysts tie in with Biden refusing to invite Netanyahu to the White House.
Yeah.
And by the way, whenever Biden or any other clowns in the American clown government come out and make a statement about our proposed judicial reform and Israel's democracy, how dare you?
Yeah.
I mean,
I know.
really?
I know. Well, there is a difference. You said that that Bibi Netanyahu was, at least as a prime minister, was kind of out doing his little issues here, issues there. The thing you have going for you over there is he actually knows he's the prime minister, as opposed to what we have here.
It's yeah, you never do hear him refer to someone else in his cabinet as the prime minister.
Yeah,
Whereas Biden has referred to President Harris many times. But
yeah.
you know what? This is not the US update, so we're
No,
not going
it's
down that
not,
road.
yeah, because that would be too much of a comedy act. We do
Yeah.
have serious things that are going on
Oh,
there. So
one other thing I wanted to mention quickly. I don't recall if I mentioned this last week. The government statistics people have, because everyone's been raving about tourism.
mhm.
Tourism's off the hook and people are coming and it's fabulous. They finally admitted that tourism has not reached the level that it was in 2019.
Wow,
Now, I and the other tour guides could have told you all that.
yeah,
Now, I am getting some bookings and a few nibbles as well, for 2024.
yeah, and we are, by the way, looking at dates for 2024 for Connect Israel. So that'll be
Yeah,
hopefully out after this. We're going to have some meetings in Israel. Bezrat Hashem, God willing, we'll have some meetings when we're there together, and we'll be able to set those dates at the end of probably the end of November, 1st December.
right. Yeah, and I'm hoping that the people who are listening, who are saying, yeah, listen, that's the one for me. I hope you all are saving, and as we've
Yeah,
said before, I hope you all get passports,
yeah.
because
Go ahead and
otherwise
go ahead
you
and
ain't
get that
going
done.
nowhere.
Yeah, go ahead and get that done. So tourism, though they're trying to tout it as something huge, it's not really there in the end.
It's coming back. There's no doubt
Yeah,
the trends are all up. But we were at a minus level. We weren't even at zero. We were at a
yeah,
minus level. So
well,
pretty much anything since the end of
yeah,
March
yeah.
of last year. I mean, when you think about it, we're only 14 months into the return of
Mhm.
tourism.
Yeah.
I
So
told people I didn't think it was going to come back fully until next December, which is
mhm.
quite a number of months away.
Yeah, yeah. So me going over there last year was actually helped the statistics for
It
tourism.
definitely helped.
That was
It
great.
definitely helped, without a
I did
doubt.
notice that the gas, the fuel went up about 4 agrot per liter. What people might not realize is that you guys don't have your fuel prices are regulated by the government. So you don't just shop around, like at Circle K on one corner and Raceway on the other, or Racetrack on the
No,
other.
it's all the
It's
same,
all the same.
and
Yeah,
and our prices have been consistent. I mean, for
yeah,
years. They're high.
yeah,
They've always been high. They
yeah,
will remain high, but it doesn't bounce,
yeah.
the
It's
way you find it in
consistently
the US.
crazy. What is about $8 a gallon or something? $7 a gallon for
It's at
regular.
least at least somewhere between 6 and 7 for sure. The
Wow.
equivalent of 6 and $7. And again, remember, do we have time for economic statistics?
Yeah, go.
Look this up. The average Israeli salary is about $33,000 a year.
Okay. Wow.
The average American salary, this surprised me, is in excess of $62,000 a year. Now, most of our listeners are probably sitting back saying, wow, I'm underpaid. Now, again, our cost of living is very similar to the major Northeast cities, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. See, huge disparity,
Yeah.
huge disparity. As I like to say, we pay New York prices and we earn salaries like we're in Mississippi or Louisiana.
You know, th- that's something that it's 25 years ago that I stepped foot in the land the first time. And I remember we actually went to the Jerusalem Mall, and I got a Whopper combo. Okay, I had to have, these are early days. Okay, so I had to have some Americanism here, and I got a Whopper combo, and it cost me $8. Now, I know that sounds cheap today in American terms, because that same
It
one
wasn't
is like
25 years ago.
it's like 11,
$8,
$12.
$8 for a fast food burger. Now,
Yeah, yeah. In
the
that day,
shekel.
in
Oh,
that
sorry.
day, it would have been $2.99 in the States, and it was $8.
Okay.
Yeah.
As of today, the rate of how many shekels to the dollar is now 3.73.
Wow.
3.73 shekels to the dollar.
Mm.
So it's yeah. Again, as we say in ancient Aramaic, no bueno.
Yeah.
Not
So,
good
I
at
mean,
all.
that in itself is good for tourists going. It is not good for the average Israeli, including an average Israeli tour guide, or above average, I'd
Yeah.
say above
Yeah.
average tour guide. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that that advantage is only for Americans.
Yeah.
I mean, Europeans, South Africans, will use. There was a group that I was on, Daniel Carmel's faith boat
Mm-hmm.
yesterday from Namibia.
Wow.
Namibia is near South Africa, Botswana. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
go back in modern history about that. So yeah, that was, and they were all using US dollars, and it's a fortune for them.
Oh, because to get a US dollar, when I was in South Africa at it was the Rand, I remember we had four of us that went to lunch, a very nice lunch with a bottle of wine. Four of us ate for $14.
South African heads will explode when they hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not the way it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
so
Well, you got some more touring lined up here. You're going to be out
I'm
and
going
about.
to I'm bringing people up to the Harabaya tomorrow, the
All
Temple
right.
Mount. I will keep you all in my thoughts and prayers, and certainly for Kathy, for
Yeah.
refuah
Okay.
shlema, complete healing.
Yeah.
And
I loved your
hopefully all
I
will go
loved your
well.
I left your post, by the way. If they hadn't wanted Jews to pray on the Temple Mount, they should not have built the mosque there. That
They
was a
shouldn't have
great
built
thing.
the Dome of the Rock, on
Yeah,
our Temple Mount. That's,
yeah,
but
yeah,
hey, it is what it is.
yeah, yeah. Cut out the common sense. All right. Hey,
Right.
take care,
Take care,
and
Mike.
we'll see
See
you
y'all
next
soon.
week.
Bye bye.